want to thank everyone for coming and the Art League for inviting me. And I see Jerry down there from Boyd Art Center. We've had our encounters at certain openings where he plays the, well, the tall guy, and I play the short guy. But anyway, seriously, thanks, and to the Women's Club for this, inviting me here too, and the beautiful building. I guess I was asked to come specifically talk about the mural I did downtown at the, on the Janesville circuit, the Janesville icon. And when I saw that on the publicity stuff, I thought, well, you know, I'm not really a mural artist, so I'm going to get that out there right away, because I'd be short speech if I talked just about my mural work, because I've probably done about 6 of them. But there, so I thought I'd do a kind of an overview of my entire artistic life to start with, and that won't be as boring as it sounds. Although I have 2 fears, boring people and public speaking. So thanks, I'll see you later. No, I can't do that either. No, but Brian, how you doing over there? Lots of fellow artists I see and everything. But again, so I'll just kind of give it like a rough overview of how I got to eventually end up doing the mural down there last year, and hope to do more coming up. But I mostly consider myself a painter, so I use oils. And of course, with outdoor art, you have to use acrylic for obvious reasons, for quick drying and permanence and all that. To begin with, I guess, when we moved here as a family, and again, I have my 2 sisters there from Darlington, Wisconsin, at age 7, I think I was, we went to St. Williams, and I drew the 3 wise men in 3D. It was kind of like a, you know, most kids at 7 or 8 draw profiles or straight on with big eyes. I did Jesus with a nose, and true, you know, it was a 3D thing. And the nuns were like, whoa, this is good. I got it in my crazy head then that I was going to be an artist real early. And I kept that actual drawing up until it disappeared in the 90s, but it was on blueprint paper. You know, back then they didn't exactly have, like, here's your artwork. It's like, we have some blueprints from the building, now do your artwork on the back of it. So it was kind of not permanent, but I always loved that artwork. And so that was actually the first start of anything I ever did artistically, and I'm kind of proud of it. I wish I had it to show, because it was kind of funny. So, fast forward from St. Williams, after I made it through that, I went to Parker High School, and my teacher there was Sudad Baban, and I don't know if there's anybody of certain age here that remembers Sudad. He was from Iran, and he was a very different character, but we got to be close friends, and after I graduated, I actually went back to Parker for like 15 years every year and talked to the art classes, because I wanted to encourage younger people to keep, you know, doing it. We had the love-hate relationship, because I would spend all my time in art class and wouldn't do anything else. You know, math, English, public speaking, no. And so he gave me a START scholarship, it was called. And if there's any educators here that could remind me what START scholarship was, it was like, do you know what that is? I know that sounds, yeah, well, it's an acronym for something, but it's been 45 years. I can't remember what it was. But it was very, it was another one of those encouragements when you're 17 to think, wow, well, somebody's going to pay me to go to school for art. And I remember I sold a painting at the Wheatberry or something downtown, one of those restaurants, when I was 16. Well, that was another bad thing. It made me think people were paying me for art. You know, I wanted to be a lawyer. But so there were certain events in life that kind of kept you going, you know. And upon graduation from Parker, then I went to Layton School of Art, the only art school in Wisconsin at the time. And so when I went there in 1974, oddly enough, after being around for 95 years, they ceased to exist the following year. And so I had to then make a decision to go to MIAD, which is Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. But MIAD had not been accredited. There was no financial aid, there was no nothing. It was kind of an idea. They were going to switch from Layton to MIAD. Well, you know, being 1920, you're full of energy. You don't want to sit around and wait for a year to get accredited for nothing. So I ended up in the Florida Keys. Oh. But that was called the school of one highway that way and one back. But, you know, again, in between I went to the Keys. Oh, here's my first mural job, which is very interesting because it was the first of a half dozen I can talk about today. And I never got to actually do this mural because I won the award for the Janesville Mall had just opened. And they had a J.C. Penney edition. And it was a white wall. Like for a year it was going to be white there before they could get the store built. So they wanted a mural. And, you know, come from art school, come back for summer vacation, I did the big sketch and win it. Well, then I started on it and I'm a week or two into it and they come up and go, you better get off the ladder because your sister works at the mall and that disqualifies you. Your sister Kathy. Thanks, family. Kathy, my sister managed a kiosk at the time. They weren't called that, but you know, just a card store in the middle of the thing. And so I was so disappointed. It's like, you know, at the time it was like $1,000 commission. I was like, oh, whoa. And so when I lost that job, that's what made me go to the Keys, I think. And it was a good thing I did because I collected tropical fish and, you know, in my early 20s, it was an envelope. And I always painted. I always never did not paint, you know, so I could paint on the houseboat. I could paint out in the ocean, you know, I could see stuff. So that's kind of what I did until I saw a big shark one day and underwater, like 12 miles off the coast. And then I found out there was a school called Ringland School of Art and Design in Florida. And that's when I thought, I'll get off this boat. And speaking of sharks, I see Richard's here. He just got back from a month in, where was it? Not Aruba, but... Honduras. There you go. And, you know them, what it's like, the subtropics and beautiful colors, the lights. So, better have a drink here. Margaritaville. No, that's not true. So I then decided to go back to Ringland School of Art and Design. And I went in Sarasota, Florida, which was about 400 miles north of the Keys, or not 400, but half the distance of the state of Florida. And because all my credits from Layton still were good, I got to come in as a middle student. You know, I had already. And so I graduated from there in 1980 with a design and graphic design and illustration major. And while there, I did my second, I'm trying to keep with the mural theme. While there, I remembered, and I haven't thought about it for a long while, but I did a big mural there for a condominium of a big, wealthy screw and nut producer. It was one of those weird things. He's like, Acme Nut and Screw Company. And I always read the boards, like I had to work going to school. I had a job, you know, my part-time job and everything. And I'd read the boards and this guy says, well, we're looking for a circus mural because Ringland School of Art is obviously John Ringland from Wisconsin. Everybody knows that, right? Nobody in Florida in 1977, 8 knew where Wisconsin was. I was the only person north. I mean, I'm dead serious. There were people like, where are you from, Jim? Wisconsin. Is that in Canada? No, it's close by Canada, but just don't worry about it. You know, you're going to John Ringland School of Art, and he came from Wisconsin. You might want to study that part of it. And anybody familiar with Sarasota knows what a beautiful area that is, and the Ringland Mansion and all that stuff. So I did that mural, and pre-digital age, I didn't take any camera shots other than my Polaroid. Now I have Polaroids of this mural, but it was huge. It was tigers the size of that wall. It was, you know, the people with the whips. You know, it went over great. Had a great time. And that was the second mural I had ever done, you know, size-wise. So then, after that, 1980, I graduate, and I come back up here, up north, for various reasons. And that didn't work out too well because Janesville didn't have a thriving art scene. It was the height of GM yet. It is a blue-collar town, and I love it, and my dad and brother and lots of relatives worked at GM, and that's part of the reason I ended up doing it, obviously. But so when I got back here, I got a little bored, and I went to Hawaii for half a year. Because I had art school friends, and they were everywhere, you know, and they went to Hawaii, and I said, Janesville or Hawaii? Rhonda and Val, my sister's there. This will get down to why I chose the locale of this, which is right across from Monterey Hotel. And my mom had a real estate office there, and I remember seeing pictures of all my Hawaiian art in there that I did when I got back. So, you know, there's lots of reasons why this all correlates to why I picked the area that I did. The building, which is a little bit, little rough shape, rough neighborhood part of Janesville that needs a little help, you know. I would, again, say blighted, but I don't want to be that harsh. So anyways, being a green-eyed German in Hawaii, that didn't work out for work either. I did sell paintings on the street corner. I was one of them guys that sat around. I had my hair, you know, and I'd paint, and tourists would come by, and they'd, you know, here, take a picture of the Hawaiian. I was like, from Wisconsin. You don't know where that's at. They don't even know where that's at in, you know, the States. So, anyway, so that all happened. Now I'm trying to figure out where I'm at. Oh, so when I came back and couldn't work in Hawaii, I got a job for 17 years in the graphics industries in Janesville. I worked for Janesville Group Limited. That's where all those mugs in the basement were. They were silk screened. That's one of the things I got to do was design those. When the Badgers won the Rose Bowl in 1994, they hadn't won it in 50 years. And this is pre-computers. There's no computers. Well, there were, but there were no graphic computers where I worked. There was a machine called the Murals, and it had 4 fonts, and it was the size of that piano. You know, you had your choice of 4 fonts. So I had to design the mural, the coffee mugs and all the memorabilia for the Rose Bowl overnight. And they sold like $500,000 worth of it to Walgreens and all this. All of a sudden, I'm the star. You know, I'm like, oh, whew, thank God, somebody can draw. You know, so that worked out good, and, you know, but that went on for about 15, 16 years, and I decided I wanted to, you know, like anything, you get burnt out, you know, doing certain things, and you want to move on, and, you know, so I did. I was going to become a fine artist. And so I kind of, this is getting to the 4th mural I did, which is in Janesville here. So I had to pick a job which I felt would be somewhat fulfilling, and I've been for the last 11 years working with disabled adults through Catholic Charities. And coincidentally enough, this was 2005, I got a call from Riverfront, who is the same type of facility, only higher functioning. And they contacted me randomly. It had nothing to do with my work as with Catholic Charities, but as an artist. And I did a mural in there. Now, nobody here can see it because of HIPAA laws and everything. It's on Barberry Drive out by Charter, you know where that area is? It would fill up every inch of this room, the mural. It was of a town square. They wanted to make it look homey. It was a big industrial white building. And they said, can you make it look like a town square? And Mercy Hospital sponsored it, so I had to put Mercy Store there, you know. The theater here, the candy shop, the coffee shop. And it's kind of cool. It's still there, and it's all on my website. If you can't go physically out there to see it, artrichter.com, I have progress of each stage of doing this mural. So that I would consider one of my probably biggest, and monetary-wise, nice. You know, they were fair. Whoever let me have water up here, thank you. So anyways, carrying on with mural and my fine artwork. After that, and it's still there, like I say, I went and visited 2 weeks ago to see how it was holding up. And it's, you know, it has damage from wheelchairs and that, but it's still 11 years later, pretty good shape. Okay, so then came, I'm trying to chronologically go through this mural work. Oh, the municipal building downtown. That's technically not a mural. You guys see all that hanging on the walls? Those are not murals, they're called murals, but that was a 22 by 28 oil painting done in my studio. Then it was mechanically put onto this right here, Jerry. Yeah, there's 5 of them in town. I had a kind of a hard time with it because it was the design was not mine. A typical anal retentive artist, I did sketches this thick of 100 different ways I'd do it, and they said, no, you have to do it the way the people that want to do it. And I didn't like it, because number one, I said, well, what's this? It was a stick drawing. They go, that's the Tolman House up in that corner. I said, well, is it going to float in the air? And they go, I guess. And I said, okay, well, let's go float in the air. Then I did Henry James, who brought the railroad to town, in case anybody didn't know that, which kind of got the ball rolling for this area. And of course, Abe Lincoln was, I'm sorry, it was, I think that was Mr. Tolman. Anyways, hence he invited a young Abe Lincoln. And on the original sketch, I did Abe so everybody would know Abe. Well, it had to change. Abe didn't have a beard back then. And I'm, being an artist, whipped out my artistic license. And I said, well, everybody knows Abe looks like this. Nobody cares what Abe, pre-Abe looked like without the thing, the beard. Well, that ain't gonna work. So it was kind of rough for me because, no, again, you have to have a license when you do certain artwork. It doesn't, you know, if you're doing National Geographic, anthropological stuff, that has to be, you know, strictly to code or whatever the word would be. So anyways, that came next in my strange mural work downtown. And at the end of this, you'd be more than welcome to ask plenty of questions because I may be talking like in tongue, I don't know. Mercy East, I did a couple murals for them, very interesting. The pediatric 3rd floor and the ground floor, there's a woman holding an apple or 2 hands when you get on the elevator. It's technically a mural. It was done on substrate wood, and you know, and it's I think 4 by 12 and 6 by 8. So larger sizes, and they were fun. I got to do them in my studio at home, and then we transport them to Mercy East and did them. So now I'm up to like my 4th mural I've done. This qualifies me for being the mural artist I'm supposed to be, which I'm not. But I'm going to convince you all I am. I'm faking it. In the parlance of contemporary news, this is fake news. But anyways, on after that, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do this mural for what I said earlier with my family's involvement of GM and Janesville in particular. And again, being familiar with the Monterey Hotel in this building on High Street and Milwaukee, I kind of picked it for a lot of reasons. It had a natural, beautiful piece of framed, the black was a, you know, the cement, it just like looked like a painting should be there. It was like a blank canvas with a frame around it. I thought, well, I'd paint that frame black, and you got a frame, which a tire would be, and voila, you're off into the races. And so I had to kind of, unlike this and every other work I've ever done, most artists here, all of my artist friends, know how you get commission, or not commission, but you enter contests, or you know, you don't do the whole thing yourself. You don't start like, I'm gonna pick this out, and I'm gonna go find somebody to pay me, and I'm gonna contact the owner and all that, because artists are not like that. They like to be fed, you know, like spoon-fed. Jerry, you know this. He's the director of the Art Center in Beloit, so he knows well. I got to get down to see the Mark's work, too, by the way. That's good. Soon. Anyway, so I had it in my brain. I was going to do that in the spring of 2016. I remember there was snow on the ground, so it was late spring, but it was like April. And I started that in April of that year trying to contact the owner, trying to do sketches. It got to be to the point where all of a sudden summer had gone by and I'm getting frustrated because, number one, the owner, who I've never met to this day, I painted that on a building, wouldn't know if she ran into me. So it was kind of odd. And I also didn't get the permission from her to do it from the sponsor, Fagan Chevrolet, Bob Clapper, God bless him, till the day I went out there to beg him for sponsorship. I'm being facetious. He was very nice. I just asked him, and he said, yeah. Shocked me. I was just like, whoa. I'll get to that in a little bit, because it's true. Their motto is, we make doing business easy, and they do. So if I ever buy a new car, it's from him. But anyway, so I went there, and I went in. I had lunch at the Mexican restaurant, which was a bone of contention, because the sign could not come down. So I had to paint around the sign. That would have been right here, you know. And I'm nervous as all get out, because I'm going to go meet Bob Clapper on the very day that he kind of gave an indication he'd be interested in doing it. I mean, I sent him a letter, and a day later, I got an email going, yeah. And again, as an artist, you got to use to rejection. So your whole life, you're like, well, go ahead, tell me. It's a nice idea, but it sucks. You know. Anyways, I'm getting ready to go out to meet him, and I got plan B, C, and D in my brain. And one plan B was 29th South, that restaurant with a big red wall there. I went in, talked to the owner there. She told me her dad owned it. He might like to do a mural there, but maybe not. She said, I'm going to inherit, and I don't want no car on it. I was like, oh, there you go again. So I, to my amazement, called the owner the day, and I said, this is the artist that's been talking to you for 6 months. I'm going out to get sponsorship, and if I don't know by the time I hang up on this phone, if you get back to me, then thanks for your interest, but then it won't happen. And she called me back 10 minutes later, and very tipsy said, okay, go ahead and do it. And I was like, really? Yeah, go ahead and do it. Again, there's lots of reasons why I think she didn't want it there. I think she couldn't believe, number one, that anybody would do it for free. I think she thought there was some cost or somehow. I mean, here's the building. I don't know if you can see it, but you could not get any more disgusting looking. And here's one other reason why, and I don't mean to be too civic-minded, but one time I was there was a big political event, and I think it was a Paul Ryan thing at the Armory, and all these Fox News and every CNN was there with a big satellite, all parked around, and I started looking at that thinking, this is what we got to offer. It's next to the Armory, the beautiful Armory. I mean, historic Armory with all the history. And then the Monterey, I just felt bad. I thought, we cannot present ourselves to the United States like this. This cannot be there. So, I mean, I was really determined at that point. And then, so needless to say, she goes, her name is Alvarez, Sandra Alvarez. Yeah, again, I've never met her yet. I've talked to her once. I went in and had multiple restaurants. I went in a Mexican restaurant to order food, like, Sandra around? Who are you? I'm an artist. Oh, not you, you know. She doesn't want to be hounded like this. I'm like, well, how do you, it's free. I swear nothing's gonna. So I went out after receiving the call. I think I literally was in my thing going out to Fagan Chevrolet, and she says, yeah, okay, you can do it. I was like, good, well, that turned out to be so good of a story because Bob Clapper, didn't want Plan B, C, or D. He wanted that building for civic reasons. He said, my daughter manages best events at the Armory. And he says, I have a very civic mind to myself. He said, I think that area needs anything to help it, you know? So I didn't have the heart to tell him, you know, like, whew. Talk about living on the fly, you know, just like, it was amazing, actually, so it happened. And I met him only for 1 hour, and people asked, like, price range and that, curious, and he said, well, what are you going to do it for? And I you know, without saying the exact amount, it's kind of proprietary, just because I don't think people don't discuss that sort of thing, but I told him my price, and he said, well, that's good, because he said, if you would have asked for $5,000, I would have said, no big deal. And if you would have asked for $20,000, I would have said, no big deal, like, keep moving, you know. So it was in between there, but on the lower end. And again, he was such a no restrictions. He pointed out everything wrong about my sketch. I'm in his office, his private office, and he's going like, you know, I collect cars, Jim. I'm like, yeah, I thought you would. I said, I'm a car guy, I like cars. Well, he pointed out this can't happen. Those two taillights are the cheapest Impalas. These, by the way, were all made in Janesville. That's why. And they're all from a time period, 55 to 59. You had to pick with a 100-year history of everything they've done in Janesville. You know, it was hard to come up with a period or different models that were, you know, spoke about Janesville. So these are iconic, and that's what they truly are. That word gets overused a lot, icons. But they're iconic cars, the 55, 56, 57, 58, and then the 59. So all in that era. Plus I was born in 55, so I was, you know, kind of. So anyways, to make a long story short, I will wrap this up. If, like I say, boring, I hope it's not, because I feel like I'm overstating everything. So I get there, and he tells me all the things I have to change on this. You know, you put the 3-tail light Impala. This is the cool one, the top of the line. And I found that, by the way, all these are done from pictures that I researched and found people that own these cars in Janesville. I found that 58 out on Highway 8 in a garage, immaculate, one owner, you know, and they were thrilled. They were like, wow, you know, we take these out to car shows once, you know, a year, but, so, you know, again, you know, the grill's missing here, looking at that. Who would take that to somebody with a grill missing? This is a 1960, he said, Jim, don't have a 1960, have a 59, and that made sense. Because those are very fun. Everybody's seen that car, right? I mean, it's kind of like, it was only 1 year, and the difference was immediate. But again, these were made in Janesville. This is guy's car is around Janesville, Chattel Larry. So he really just told me, you know, make those subtle changes. You know, we worked out a contract and all that, and, you know, have fun. But now it's October 1st. Anybody here grow up in Wisconsin? I'm a nervous wreck. All I can think of is all my childhood Halloween 30 days later, snowing, ice, and a mural, blank wall, 60 foot long. And at night, me and my 2 friends that helped me, I should say this, I wish Kurt was here, Kurt Buggs, Signworks, did this all by himself. And I knew I wanted to have him involved because of how good he was. And it's hard to paint on brick, detail, you know. So I got Kurt involved, and he did a bang-up job, but I'm leading to, the funniest part was him and another guy, Luke Woodring, who's an artist friend of mine from Milwaukee. He's originally from Janesville, but he's in his mid-30s, and I thought I need somebody to get up in the ladders, you know. Yeah, what? Luke, what are you doing, Luke? So, and Luke's just a crazy artist, like I was when I was that age. You know, he didn't ask like if he was even going to get paid. And his wife's like, yeah, he's getting paid. And I said, yeah, of course he is. Why am I not going to have him come from Milwaukee for this? But he would have. He was crazy. There was a point to all this. Oh, so October, thank you. That was the point. So here's Kurt Buggs, Luke Skywalker, and me. All of a sudden, I'm the adult in the room because I've never been an adult, but I have to keep everything on track, and you know, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to snow. Let's project these images with a projector. You know, that's cool. You know, I'm not ashamed to say it. I use projectors at work. I mean, on my other work too. It depends how many things I have to do, like a lot of the images there. You know, it's easier to do it like that. So we get the projector out. It's 10 o'clock at night on October 3rd or something, and it's so bright with all the street lights that you couldn't see, you couldn't even make one of those things with it. There's nothing. Now all of a sudden it's like hand-drawn. Every inch of this guy has to be hand-drawn because there's no projection. It's too light. It's just never worked. And they can help me with certain things, but they can't help with that sort of thing. So I, at that point, was just frightful beyond belief. Like, you know, I knew it would happen, but how good would it be? You know, you don't want to be embarrassed when you do public art. You don't want to have something less than your best effort. So Mother Nature cooperated, and we got it done by the end of October in a month, but it also then took 3 weeks after that to do details. And I had kids from the Jeffries apartment down the road. I had little homeless kids kind of come up and paint on there because they were so, it was part of the civic part of it, I thought. You know, the kids would come up and go, hey, mister, I'm an artist. And I'd be like, well, here. And they'd like, and I'd have them paint blue because what are you going to mess up with blue, right? I mean, just whatever they did worked. So there are some, now some of them had to be changed a little after Mom and Dad took them away. I would kind of like, you know. But to their mind, they painted that mural, you know. And that's part of the, you know, meeting the people. When you're one spot for a month, you get to meet everybody that works there, everybody that walks by, people that drive by, that bring me papers. And so all in all, it turned out to be a very enjoyable experience. You know, mostly the civic end of it, but also the paying acknowledgement to the people that, you know, and right now they're tearing down the plant as we speak, which is okay, but it needed to be recognized. It had been 9 years, and it was kind of like people, like, it was part of our heritage in this town. I mean, why would you forget it or want to forget it? You know, it didn't end the way nobody, you know, nobody likes bad endings, but it needed to be pointed out that, you know, it was a part of our culture. So I hope to do one more, and this next one hopefully is going to be of the trucks produced there. And that's going to be called Janesville Muscle. And we produced a lot. One of the last things we made there, and still online, I've seen pictures. In that plant as we speak are Tahoes and Suburbans still in mid-construction. It's just spooky looking to see it, you know.
Which building, or where are you putting it?
That's the question. That white Aramark building is kind of disgustingly bland. I don't know if you know where that's at, Highway 14, or Centerway. You know where the Aramark is? They call it the White Elephant. It's just a big white, it used to be Robinson Cleaners. Now, I contacted the district manager of Aramark, who's out of Madison, and asked him if he would be interested, but I want to give Bob another chance to sponsor this, just as the right thing to do. I'm assuming he'll say, no, I already did my part, you know. And then I'll have to go to find somebody else. And then I'll ask the Aramark building if they'll do it, their management. If not, again, as an artist, you always have plan A, B, C, D, and E, because when you're trying to sell stuff like this anyways, not, well, even composing or whatever you decide to do, all the artists in here know that you tend to, oh, I knew they'd find me. No. So that's another one I hope to do this year, is the Janesville Muscle. And if not, I might go back to 29th South. That orange building, that wall is just despicably like this looking. It is. It's brown, it's coming off, and it just needs help. I should have talked a little bit about what it took to prep this, the power washing 3 times, the 5 coats of Kills. I mean, it was amazing to get it. If you look at my website, you'll see stages where it's pure white, and it looks kind of nice, pure white even. It was just like, and with a little car added here, then the next day would be another car, and I was like, God, I could have quit right there and made it easy. But, so that brown building on 29th South, I could see white walling that all, you know, painting that all white and making something there. If not, I have a few other ideas that hopefully somebody will want to do. And after this one, I don't think I'd do another car, you know, These two would be fine, but I think Janesville could use a few other murals that would be different, maybe artists, or different subject matter for sure. I'm in contact with Mercy Hospital to do something for them. Last year, it wasn't in their budget, but they wanted me to do something to hide some mechanical stuff, a simple, it was a logical thing to do. There's a air conditioning unit, and they wanted to have something covering it. And they said, would you do like a foliage scene? Well, that fell through, but I'm thinking that'll come back this year now, because it's probably in their budget. And then, so after the Janesville Muscle one, then I'll be done with cars in Janesville, unless, somebody wants another one. And then this one here I started this is kind of interesting for Janesville story, because it's a Dells, Wisconsin Dells, in Portal, Wisconsin, the website for artists. They put up opportunities, where you can find jobs. You guys ever check that out, Portal, Wisconsin? portalwisconsin.org. It's a state artist-run, it's all arts, performing arts, everything. But they have a visual art category, so I always look at that about once a month to see what's on there. And I see this Wisconsin Dells looking for a mural. And believe it or not, the Dells have the same problem Janesville does in every town. Their downtown's dying. And who would think that of the Dells? The Dells, when I think of the Dells, is growing up, we went downtown, the Wax Museum, Swiget Niggs, all those. It's a nice old town, it's just very, anyways, they're gonna give somebody $40,000 to do a mural. Now I'm thinking, now they're gonna get professionals, So I started off doing the sketch, and by the way, they didn't want the Dells that are out in the suburbs. They don't want the Timber Ridge, They wanted the original why the Dells was founded. Kilcade, or is it? Kilbourne was the name of the town. It was never the Dells until, time went by. So they wanted the Native American influence. They wanted the natural beauty, because the Dells' natural beauty is stunning without all the duck rides and everything. And then the lumber industry, I didn't realize, it was the other big, huge thing. But in either case, and then the steamboat kind of represents a melding of the two, like in between commerce, without slides or anything. But the Native American, the canoeist, their little faces going to be adding up here in the rocks and stuff to, after you get bored with looking at initially, there'll be other things to keep your interest. Well, now, here's a precautionary tale. I think I missed all the paperwork deadline. And when you work with municipalities, it's thick, what they want for you to, before they give you $40,000, unlike easy to do business, like, see you later, They're very, very sticky. And I was one day late getting a piece of paper to them. They said, it's too late. And I was like, well, the painting itself, I can sell it. So I'm going to keep working on it. I'll sell that to some hotel. It'll be behind some lobby somewhere. Because, you can't abandon it. You can't start something. You can, I suppose, but I'm too cheap to do that. So I'm going to finish it. It's close, but that would be, either that or I might find a independent person up there that has a building, What I need to do is go in the Dells in the spring and just go to a bunch of places. You make eye-to-eye contact with people, and, you have a better chance of selling your project. Lots of times, emails and that just don't cut it. And then the other opportunity I'm going to be doing soon, starting in about 2 or 3 weeks, is with Luke Skywalker. Young Luke, remember him from Milwaukee? Young climbing ladder Luke, that don't care if he gets paid Luke, except his wife with 2 kids cares. Luke he's kind of a well-known artist in Waukesha, and Waukesha has a thriving art scene. And they commissioned him to do a painting, only he's doing it on panels, and that's why Kurt was here. He could answer what kind of panels. They're going to be done in the studio and then put out in Waukesha downtown, West End Artists it's called. Well, he wants, again, the father figure, that'd be me, there to help him, and he's willing to pay me half of the amount. So I'll be able to do that despite my day job, and on weekends work on the mural for Waukesha. So this coming year, there should be quite a few outdoor, larger mural things, and I always continue to paint every day in my studio. So With that ends my career as a mural artist. It took a lot of work to come up with all this because I'd forgot about the circus one in Sarasota, which looking back on it was one of the funnest things I ever did, but it was funny to force recollection. So I appreciate the invite to be able to remember some of the stuff. And again, now that everything's digital, I don't do anything without taking it, documenting it. It's so easy to put on. But if you see another truck mural coming up this year in downtown, it'll be me, hopefully. But yeah, and so we'll end that with any questions.
Did you protect that mural with anything over it? Because I know there's a couple things downtown, one especially that's super faded over the years. And I just hate it. What? Yeah. Funerals. So, what will happen?
That's a good question, and the butterfly thing I think needs to be redone. It's just because it's fading and it's old, and that was done with latex paint. Yeah, I should mention that. I don't go to Ace and get paint. I use professional mural paint out of a company in Los Angeles. I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of street art out, and it started in the barrios, and those cars are big in Los Angeles because it's a car city. So this company, or this muralist that came up from Mexico, couldn't find good paint, so he started this company that makes only mural paint. It's very expensive, but it's very thick, bonding agents. It's something you should use, and I didn't skimp on any, because one thing Bob Clapper asked me about, he said, well, can you guarantee this, what in 5 years is it going to look like? I said in 10 years it'll look brand new. And that's another good question, I didn't bring it up. The location of a mural is very important. This sits on an east wall protected by the big Monterey building. It gets very little direct sunlight. But if you have a mural on the south or north where the elements kill it in Wisconsin, you are not asking for a very long life. And the substructure is important. That's why I primed it and power washed it numerous times to make sure. So this paint, I expect to last, it's now going on 2 years, and I can't tell any difference in sunlight. But if you're in the wrong position, that sort of stuff will affect the longevity of it. And, if you're spending good money on it, and you want it to last as long. And there's another one on Main Street, that hippie one that's up there. That was done in the 60s. I remember that by Dorothy Records back when I was buying, 45s. And it looks, it should look like that because it's, so.
Well, you got any details in the paintings you in the rear view mirror?
Oh, should I throw in my political stuff? Bob Clapper doesn't like that. I forgot about that. See, I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I was going to mention. Because, well, as you can tell, there's nothing with these dice. That used to be a thing in the 50s. You'd put dice hanging from your rearview mirror. Well, in the rearview mirror is the Monterey Hotel because it's on that side. And I told him that Mr. Graff should roll the dice on the Monterey. Don't keep it in the rearview mirror. Just as a blunt statement, don't throw away the Monterey in the rearview mirror. Roll the dice. And when I told him that, he actually laughed, because at first I was waiting for him to go you no political, nothing about that. But I wanted the Monterey saved, like everybody. Most people would want it. It's a beauty. John Kennedy, the King of Siam, Joe Louis. I mean, if you research the people that stayed at the Monterey, it's and it was built in 1930 at the start of the Great Depression. If they could surely start it at the Great Depression, we can keep it, Anyway, so yeah, that's good. And I also put a bottle of wine sitting there too, because that's an actual lip of a window, and it looked weird. I wanted to put something on that. So it's a trompe l'oeil. It's a fool the eye thing. You look at it and you're like, why is that bottle of wine sitting in the middle of this? But you gotta have a little humor with this stuff.
I thought of two other things that you did, Jim, maybe you could elaborate. You did one of the Chevys on the circuit, I think it's in Fort Janesville now, you know, when the little the fiberglass Chevrolet cars were around, and they were auctioned off. You had a cute theme for that, something about apple pie, and then you were chosen a year ago, and Jerry would know this, to do the front cover of the BIF program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Beloit International Film Fest. Yes, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Jackie. Yes, actually, yeah, I have a BIF thing downstairs. It was a schedule of all the movies from last year. And yeah, they commissioned me to do a scene of an old theater in Beloit called the Majestic. Thank you. There's 3 or 4 old movie theaters, and this is all interesting stuff, by the way. When I research this stuff, I get to meet people like Jerry, but I get to meet people like that own the Majestic. I can't remember her name offhand, but her dad, I meet her in her house in Beloit, and she's got stacks of black and white photos from the 40s with all the major stars would go around in caravans because they'd promote movies by literally in a bus go to every town, you know, it seemed like. Jimmy Durante in Beloit, you know. And I said, why do you have all these in a... I said, if that was my dad sitting next to Jimmy Durante, I would, or James Cagney, you know, you dirty rat. I would put it in a frame. So it's one of the good things about being an artist. You get to meet people and go in different places. But yes, and I did 3 of those little Chevys. Yes, I did 3 of them. And see the USA in your Chevrolet. Bob Lindmeyer out of Channel 27 Weather wanted a tornado on one because it was advertising, you know, for them. So I did a tornado car, I call it. Then the 3rd one was on Forward Janesville's thing there. I can't remember the name of it now. Apple pie and, oh, Chevrolet apple pie. And it was a commercial back in the, see the USA. Dinah Shore. There you go. We're all showing our age, I know. But yeah, that's true. Thanks for bringing that up because that was, I see a car right over there. I love that car too. So they all got auctioned off and it was a fundraiser for Forward Janesville. I had them all in my living room, 3 little Chevys. I mean, you couldn't even walk in my living room because everywhere was them little Chevys for 2 months, you know. It was like having to walk through like, oh. So yeah, that's, it was good.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to know when you were convinced it was a good idea to float the Talman House and you decided to float the cars.
I've floated a lot of things. That's part of my repertoire. I used to be a surrealist painter, Salvador Dali in high school, Ciudad Babán earlier. Everything I did was dripping, you know, clocks on the trees and things in the air seemed to be a predominant thing. But I still, these kind of, you know, you could have street scenes, you know, that'd be another way of doing it. But that's complicated. You know, I want to spend time on the vehicles, not on the scenes and that. But in perspective, and that one there, though, was frustrating because I wish I would have brought the drawing in. Again, it looked like a, you know what a thumbnail sketch is? Like where you literally would spend like 15 seconds. Maybe close your eyes and do it. And that's what it looked like because I couldn't bring myself around like to what they wanted. And I almost turned it down because I was like, well, you know, here's all these sketches. Can I do this? This is what I think I could do 100% better. Nope. And it was out of design firm in Rockford. They knew nothing about Janesville history, but they were an advertising firm. And I was like, well, I grew up here. I know more about it than they do, and I'd rather do it this way. No, then we'll give it to somebody else. And I said, well, wait a minute. On second thought, yeah, I'm going to rework that one. So, yeah. But I did do a lot of floating in space stuff because, again, it's a good way for composition to add stuff that doesn't make sense in a literal way. But
Yes.
You mentioned your studio. Do you have your studio at home?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Is it like a separate building or in your house?
no, I have a huge old 1890 Victorian. It has many rooms, one of those old homes, and it's wide open. So my studio is dedicated one room, but it's pure big windows and light and everything. As a matter of fact, I'm giving oil painting classes right now in that studio. I have 4 students. I don't see any of them here. Huh. Yeah, they're home painting. Well, I feel like the teacher, because I tell them, you know, and they're all different levels of skill. Pam Van Brockland, she's friends of Riverfront. She's really good. Pam is. She's really. I said, you've done this before. But we always talk because she had my teacher, Sudad. I keep mentioning it, and she knew him. But she is my student, and this Judy Wilson, who works for the school board, a teacher, and a retired nurse from Mercy. And they all do different styles. But that's my studio. And I have them in my living room and everywhere, all hardwood floors. So I just put an easel and hope they don't spill the turpentine, because sometimes I've seen brushes dropped. And one thing about oil paint, it's not user-friendly to environments. I mean, if you drop an oil paint full of brush on the wood floor, you need to wipe it up right away. And I've seen Judy, now that she's not here, I can say this, go like this and set it down and it'll drop on the floor. And I was like, Judy, what? You know, I'm AC/DC or whatever that, wait, that's a band. You know, I'm kind of, so, yeah, but, so yeah, it's an old studio that's just fits perfectly for the house is old, and it's a nice setup, really. I really enjoy it.
What size brushes are you using in some
Oh, on this, the original one, I went to Ace Hardware, and mostly are 3-inch tapered brushes. So everything's done with about a 3-inch brush, but you know, you really, go to it too. And then the detail is, I rented scaffolding from a rental place in Janesville, and I did the initial priming, cleaning and everything, and I kind of tried to work my way down. But the reason I changed the colors too is this color was too overbearing. Once I got it on the wall, I'm kind of joking about how good Bob was, with being, that's not what you showed me. But I did call him while I was working on it. So in case you're wondering, I just had to make a decision at the time that the yellow and orange didn't work. And it had to do with the signs over there. It had a lot of things to do with, I didn't know at the time this was going on there. It's not the same proportion, you can tell. If this was really going on there, it would have been like this, right? And so, I kind of had to do a little bit of finagling to get that accepted. But yeah, 3-inch brushes were dominantly the size. And it doesn't seem possible to do that big of a thing with that. But again, when you're doing a lot of sky work, you can just do that. The details, the devil's in the details, the cars and that. So, yes, Jerry.
Yeah, a lot of the painting you're doing, you're kind of mixing colors either on the palette or on the piece. Do you use airbrush at all?
No.
Some of those trees look like they could be just from here.
No, I've never picked up an airbrush in my life. I don't, wouldn't know how to work one, but it's the same kind of theory. It is wet on wet technique, like you can blend. This is what I'm trying to teach my students, by the way. It's one thing they ask is like, well, how do you blend something like this? And I'll physically show them. And if you physically show somebody how to do something, it's pretty easy to replicate it. They can do the same thing. But yeah, I like blended. I like subtlety in colors. Oddly enough, females can see more colors than men. I don't know if you know that scientifically. They can tell more difference of variations of shades and that. Hence, this is documented by science. I'm not just making this up. But so I try to use a lot of blended colors for that reason. Hard edges, I don't like hard edges. This, because it's acrylic, is hard edge. By that I mean very little blending. Well, there's blending, but I forgot one of the biggest things I ever did to even mention, as far as gargantuan stuff. Does anybody ever go to Camp Randall Stadium up in Madison? You know where that big obelisk is that Some people hate it. Most people hate it. It's footballs. I helped with that. I ran away from home and joined the circus in 2007, and it's called the FAST Circuit, Fiberglass Animal Sculpture and Trademark in Sparta, Wisconsin. I got contracted to carve a Paul Bunyan arm that was the length of the stage. And of course I lied when I said I did a lot of sculpture, like I'm lying about mural, because that's what you do as an artist. You can't be afraid. It's called trepidation. He says, we need somebody to carve we got a 60-foot Paul Bunyan, our artist just quit and moved out west. Can you come up here and live for a while? I was like, yeah. So I went up to Sparta and lived in a barn, like for 3 months. This was in 2005, I think. And sure enough, you guys know what great foam that stuff is, that around the house you use? Well, they use that industrial size out of big, huge things, and you spray it, and then you carve it with a knife. Simple as that, and then you put fiberglass over that. Well, after you carve it, you put plaster over that so the fiberglass won't eat at the structure. So I literally carved this hand that was like Paul Bunyan's hand was this big. And then next summer they invited me back to build a billboard for a city in Canada, and I carved, I hate to say it, a billboard the size of this stage, and it was kind of funny because the stage was part of it where they put these big all-terrain vehicles, and the city was trying to promote tourism. So what I carved was waterfalls and everything in the backgrounds where all these things would sit. And it's all on my website. Look at Art Richter. This is all documented in photos. You'll be seeing me with, but Nails Tales came up, that sculpture, and it was a New York artist. He was paid like $250,000 for that. And he would fly in and he would go like, I hate that, redo it. Well, I wasn't involved in that part, but then because they were late, they said, Jim, could you just help like do some of this sculpting on this damn football? And I did. So I don't try to tell people I had anything to do with that because everybody hates it up there. And it had nothing to do with me other than being a job. But if you look at my website, you'll see the pictures of other things I did there. Paul Bunyan's head, you'll walk around a corner, and it's like, seriously, it looks like something out of a Salvador Dali movie. Anybody in Sparta, if you ever go to Sparta, go to FAST Corporation. It's 8 miles out in the country. Acres and acres of monumental, huge, weird animals, sculptures. They've been around. Oh, the cow, the Janesville cow. That was from them. They started there. The guy that hired me did the cow. And he says, I know what Janesville is. I got a cow there. I said, oh, you did that, did you? Oh, you're responsible for that. His name was Jerry. I said, Jerry, that cow's controversial in Janesville because they put like red shoes on it and they do all sorts of stuff to it now. So that technically was not a mural, but that was large scale sculptural work. And so I would rather paint than sculpt. That sculpting is hard because the fiberglass, I don't know if you've ever worked with fiberglass, is full of pointed little, well, you've probably worked with everything. And fiberglass is one of those things that you get poked by a bunch of fiberglass, you know it, and you got to sand it, and it's very environmentally disturbing.
So the football almost thing, that's a fiberglass?
That's fiberglass. Meant to look like an old Roman obelisk. Yeah. And it all had to be put together in parts, like you'd sculpt like 10 foot, and then you'd lay it flat and put the other 10 foot on it. Fiberglass. I was there when they moved it. That was a sight to see. The cranes and everything, trying to get that thing on a crane, then down the highway, But they go all over the country, the world actually. They do monumental, big-sized sculptures. That's all they do, and it's just the most bizarre. You can go in there too. If you just pull in their parking lot, and they got all these barns set up, you can walk in there and act like you own the place, and nobody will ask questions, and it's kind of funny. So I'd recommend going there. Well, I can see I'm boring everybody at this point, so if there's any other questions, if not, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity too, so thanks, and let's bring more art to Janesville. I hope whoever sees this on JATV can come and visit this facility.
So there you go, thank you.
Thank you all.